Today what we're going to focus on is how we can graph ratios on the coordinate plane and also use that data to see a pattern. So we're going to get right to it. It says here in the problem, every hour Ned walks 2 miles. Create a table showing the miles traveled over the course of 5 hours. Then plot the values of the coordinate plane. So I'm going to set this up. The independent variable versus the independent variable. The independent variable is going to be the amount of hours he walks, and the dependent variable is going to be the amount of miles he walks. So here what I've done is I've represented the hours on the x-axis, it's the horizontal axis, and the miles on the vertical axis. So that's how we deal with the independent variable goes on the x-axis, and the dependent variable goes on the y-axis. So now let's start filling in the chart. Okay, so for 1 to 5 hours, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if the first hour he walks, it says here that he travels 2 hours for every 2 miles for every hour. So it'd be 2 miles for 1 hour. It would be then 4 hours for 2, 6 for 3, 8 for 4, and 10 for 5. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph these on here. I'm going to use each of these little things here as 1. So I'm going to count over here. That's 1 right there. So 1 hour, I go 2 miles. So 1 hour, 2 miles. So it's going to be right about there. So for 2 hours, I'm going to go 2 over on the right-hand side for hours. And then it's going to be 4. So it's going to be right there for the miles. Then it's going to be 3 hours. It's going to be 6. And then it's going to be 4 hours. It's going to be 8. Then 5 hours. It's going to be 10. What you should end up with, a nice straight line, which I should do if I drew this carefully. That's going to look like this. That is how you graph this, because again, for every hour he walks, he goes up by 2 miles. So that's the relationship. So now we're going to do the same thing with this problem here. So it says here, for every shirt made, 3 buttons are used. Create a table showing the buttons needed for making up to 5 shirts. Then plot the values on the coordinate plane. So we got to think here, which thing affects the other? So the amount of shirts is going to be our independent variable. So that's going to be on the horizontal axis. And my buttons used is going to be dependent on the amount of shirts. So that's going to be on my y-axis. So that's how it should set up. So the shirts, it says for making up to 5 shirts. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So up to 5 shirts. So if that's the case, then how many buttons will he have? Well, for the first shirt, we'll have 3. For the second shirt, add them up, you got 6, then 9, then 12, then 15. So now we're just going to plot these. And again, each of these little boxes here is going to be 1 over. So for 1 shirt, it's going to be 3. So it's going to be right about there. 3 buttons. So for 2 shirts, it's going to be 6. It's going to be right about there. For 3 shirts, it's going to be 9, which is going to be right about there. For 4 shirts, it's going to be 12, which is going to be right about there. And for 5 shirts, it's going to be 15, so it's going to be right about there. If you notice, this again makes a nice straight line. I'll try and draw it well. A nice straight line. And so you can tell that there's a proportional relationship between them. So that's the lesson of the day, and we'll go over this again tomorrow.